is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Infinity Summit Group podcast. Today is May 17th, 2021, of course. Today we have a special guest, actually a repeat guest. It's my dad, Noah Kelsch. He was the one that we talked about. No, not you, silly.
The other one.
Yeah. We talked about like whole life policies and stuff like that last time. This time we'll be talking about how to increase our wealth and like increase our portfolio essentially. So yeah, I'm Logan.
Xavier.
Noah.
Jesse.
Hey, I'm a teenager again.
Yep, voice crack. And then
Another Noah.
Noah Kelsch. Appreciate you having me on.
of course, thank you for coming. So what are some ways that you would recommend to diversify our portfolios, and like what aspects?
That's a great question. So diversifying a portfolio, it's interesting that a lot of financial professionals out there will. Let me just throw this out here right now. This none of this can be taken as financial advice.
Yes. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that.
But a lot of financial professionals out there, when you give your money to them, like in a 401k or IRA or anything like that, the diversification that they offer is like, just a pool of mutual funds. It might be a more conservative pool or a more aggressive pool and different things like that. But at the end of the day, that's all still stocks. So true diversification would be what's called uncorrelated assets, meaning if one goes up, the other one doesn't go up. And if one goes down, it doesn't take so it doesn't take everything down with it. So you notice, you guys have been watching the stock market and the cryptos and things like that. And generally, the majority of let's talk about cryptos for a minute. The majority of the cryptos are basically tied to what Bitcoin does. So that would make all the cryptos a correlated asset. So to have an uncorrelated asset, you might diversify in, having some cryptos, having some real estate, having some gold and silver, having some commodities, and then, of course, plenty of cash and reserves. You guys hear me talking about that all the time. You always got to make sure you have reserves. But so that's true diversification is, diversifying the what your investments are in so that they don't drag each other down with if one goes down, they don't all go down.
By the way, stocks and cryptos are correlated assets right now.
Turns
from what
out.
I've seen. Turns out, no matter what people say, when one goes down, the other one tends to go down.
Well,
when stocks go down, cryptos go down, but not the other way around.
And you're gonna have some degree of that in most everything, just because, like in 2008, the housing market crashed, and then the stock market went with it. So although those are not typically a correlated asset, or the things that drive the housing market or the price of housing shouldn't be the same thing that drives the stock market. But in economic corrections, you are going to have kind of the tsunami effect where one goes down and then it just kind of, or what do you call it? A domino effect. That's what
or whatever.
A domino effect where one affects the other, it affects the other, it affects the other. So you are going to have that inevitably, when there's a significant correction like 2008.
Was gold was gold and silver affected in 2008? Did they jump significantly? Do you even remember?
Until 2012.
I don't remember.
Huh?
Didn't start jumping till 2012.
Because the world
2011, 2012. No, not necessarily. But I'm sure that was a small driving factor. But I know a little bit more about this because I've done a lot of research on gold and silver. So the crash happened in 2008. Everything went down. Mm-hmm. All of it. And then it and then you had just kind of a couple years of nothing, and then starting 2010, 2011, 2012, silver and gold went on a run. So
Why?
and then they went back down. That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would speculate that everyone saw that no other assets were doing good at the time and just continued to tank, which they did continue to tank for a while. And so they got into something a little more secure, because gold and silver tend to be very secure as far as they hold their value against the dollar.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit interesting this time.
Oh, yeah.
Or when I say this time, I should say next time, when the economy corrects this next time. It'll be interesting to see how cryptos play into it, because yeah, like Noah was saying, gold and silver tend to do well when the dollar is weak.
Mm-hmm. Crypto's
And-
been taking their money away.
and crypto is now a player.
So
So
cryptos are worth more than the American dollar now, because it's just inflation is ruining us, right?
Now clarify that we're not talking market cap or anything. We're just talking like
Like it's a
in
better,
the average person's eyes.
better
crypto.
place to store your money, essentially,
Right, it loses value less.
than actual
Fair enough.
United States dollars.
Well,
yeah, I would say Dogecoin might be competing with the amount of dollars they're printing.
Complete fucking bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah.
Pretty
10,000. They're printing 10,000 coins a minute with Dogecoin.
Something like 14 million a day.
It's a lot.
That's it. 14 million a day.
That's what I thought.
Oh yeah, the dollar's losing way more value than that.
That's why
Yeah.
Dogecoin has 100x since last December.
That's
Even
like
though it's
KFC
shit
accepts
coin.
it now too.
Actually,
It's trash coin for
yeah,
sure.
it was 100x. Yep.
Wow.
Me equals big sad. I was totally in it.
Yeah, you could have made a lot.
$150,000. Yeah,
It's 15 million, not 14.
15 million a day.
Uh-huh.
Dang.
Yeah, dollar's in worse shape. I don't even know what to ask. I don't know a whole lot about the financial.
I do have a question. So you always hear about the investments, right? The big main ones like gold and silver, real estate, stocks, cryptos right now, and then whole life insurance policies. Is there any other investments that you know of that are kind of under the radar that people should maybe keep an eye on?
That's a good question.
That is
Foreign
a good-
currency. No,
That
I'm
is a
just
really good question. So there's really kind of two playing fields when it comes to investing. There's the investment field that the general public can play around in, and then there's a whole different tier of investing that you have to be an accredited investor for. An accredited investor is, you have to have a certain net worth or a certain income.
And what are those requirements? Do you know them off the top of your head?
Oh,
I think I might. If you
I
don't.
believe it's if I remember correctly, it's like $1 million in net worth, excluding your primary residence, or $250,000 of earned income consecutively, or $350,000 for a married couple consecutively. So once you hit those requirements, then a whole different playing field of investment opens up to you. I'm actually shocked that cryptos is just open to the general public, because it's so sketchy.
Risky.
That it's so risky, and there's so much money to be made. And typically speaking, you get into the upper echelons of investing, and those folks up there a lot of times will corner the market, and like a lot of the stuff that the general public gets in on, it's the refuse from the, it's what the higher echelons don't want.
The crumbs.
Yeah, basically. So going back to your question, it depends. My investment advice, and this is investment advice right here. Figure out what you're passionate about. Learn how to monetize it.
And 10x it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that doesn't say invest in anything. You just and most other than your own intellect. You know, if you think about an asset as anything that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket, you want to invest in you want to invest in assets. Well, yeah, you want to invest. So, well,
Make it plump.
essentially your greatest asset is and always will be your intellect and your ability to create value for others. So, and then you add to that something that you're actually passionate about, and you just figure out how to monetize it. If you're passionate about it, you'll do what it takes to learn. You know, you'll put the time in to learn how to make it profitable.
Right.
So, a lot of people are, will say, oh, real estate's the way to go, or stocks are the way to go, or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, it's like, no, because if I said, hey, go buy real estate, it's it's the way to go, and you go and buy a piece of real estate, but you're not passionate about it, so you haven't done the due diligence on it, you don't know how to make it profitable, you have a bad experience, you're going to say, okay, well, real estate investing is the shits, and Noah's the shits too. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, Robert Kiyosaki, I believe it was him, he said something along the lines of, there are no good and bad investments, there are only good and bad investors. Mm-hmm. And the difference between a speculator and an actual investor is education.
Oh yeah.
So would you recommend, if you're going into the house flipping market or whatever, would you recommend getting a fixer-upper house, or what do they call it, a turnkey or something?
Want to explain
And
the
why?
difference between those?
Yeah, so the turnkey, if that's the right term, that's literally where you buy the house and then you don't have to fix up anything. It's just ready to go. Like, have renters in right away, right? And then the fixer-upper house is,
Self-explanatory.
yeah, like you have to just fix it because it's all messed up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your experience with that?
Well, there again, what do you like? What do you have time to do? Okay. So the fix and flip, if you're mechanically inclined, or don't have a problem getting your hands dirty, a fix and flip can be highly beneficial because you can turn a significant profit fairly fast.
Forced appreciation.
Well, yeah, for sure. But you're upgrading the house, So
Yeah.
it's a tremendous value there. But also, you gotta think of, oftentimes with a fix and flip, you're not going to get traditional lending for it, because no bank wants to lend for 30 days or 60 days or 3 months, or you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're not going to want to do a short-term loan. They want to do a 10-year, 15-year, 30-year note. So a lot of the fix and flippers have to come in with hard money. You guys familiar with hard money?
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It's just not a loan, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's frozen dollar bills.
Just kidding. $1,000.
I was like, what?
So just a real quick on hard money. Hard money is you find a private lender who will lend you money, and it's typically very high interest. Oftentimes short-term loans. They're more risky loans.
The mafia.
Yeah. I bet you could get hard money from the mafia. Yeah. But if you don't pay them back, of course you're either dead or broken legs or whatever.
Yeah. You get whacked.
No, but so often the fix and flippers have to come up with their own capital, or they have to get hard money. So that's a significant expense you have to figure into the price of that. A rental home, you're gonna typically have 20% down, so it is still a significant outlay, but at least you're not having to front the whole cost of the property plus the fix. That makes sense?
Yeah. What have you liked better personally?
I've not done the fix and flips. I have done a fix and hold, where we actually bought the property, with long-term investment or with long-term money. So a traditional bank, we did the 20% down, and then we did some fixing. We fixed it up a little bit, and then just rented it out. And we've rented it out for what is it, 6 years now. We did really well on that one. We picked that one up. That one was a property here in Utah. Picked it up for $150,000. When was it? 2015. Put $16,000 into it, over and above what our down payment, and we've rented it out for 6 years. It's been a great cash flow property. We're actually in the process of looking to sell it, and the sell price is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000. So
Just
that's
double the profit.
so that's been highly beneficial. I prefer the buy and hold myself, just because I love working on the properties, but I just don't have time. And so, to me, real estate is a passive investment. So I'm going to do it passively. I'm not gonna go and do that as my day job.
Okay.
So then I like the turnkey properties for that, because I know the property is going to be in good shape. I know there's already a renter in it. It's already cash flowing. All I have to do is put the down payment in and start collecting checks.
Now I'm curious, how is that lucrative for the turnkey company? I guess they're the one who does the fix and flip and then sells it to you for the higher price.
Correct. Yeah,
Got it.
they might pick up a dilapidated home. Just some examples. They might pick up a dilapidated home and rehab it, and so they might pick it up for $25,000, and they might put $20,000 into it, like gutting it, and then also those turnkey providers, they oftentimes are once they get big enough, they have their own crews. So they buy the material in bulk. It's cookie cutter, so they all look the same, all the same colors. The paint's the same, carpet's the same, everything. So it's cookie cutter that way. They have their own crews, and so they minimize expenses that way. So yeah, they're doing the fix and flips and turning the profit that way, and then also on the back end, they typically manage the property too. So
Right.
so they're making they get the upfront capital from the fix and flip, and then they sit there and collect the 10% gross rent for management, and then and then you pay them fees for lease renewal and different things like that. Anything that they do on the property, it's an additional cost above the 10% management fee.
So if anything gets broken, or like the washing machine goes out or whatever, that's on you, right? Not
Yeah.
the company.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be good to know.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
so there again, a great example of house gone bad. Well, not gone bad, but a bad experience with the real estate. We had one of our properties that quite literally for 2 years didn't see any cash flow. Didn't see any positive cash flow. Let me put it that way. Didn't see any profit from it, because the first year what happened? The septic system. They had to replace the septic system, and that was $4,000. And then what happened the next year? I don't remember. Next year something else happened to it. But anyway, 2 years, no net cash flow. So luckily we still made enough to pay the expenses of the property. I think we ended up taking a loss on it, but we were making enough to at least pay the payment on it, but no net cash flow.
You can write that off, can't you, as loss?
Yeah.
Of that cash flow, you can write it off, that $4,000 or whatever, from other expenses.
Yeah.
Or is it just
yeah.
on
You
that
basically.
property?
Well, no, it's on all the rental income.
Okay.
So they do break it down for per property on your taxes and things like that. But if you show a loss on one property, it's on the passive income, and so passive losses count against passive
Gains.
Mm-hmm. So it all works out.
Would you say the majority of people jump into real estate not understanding that it could go wrong, like halfway down the road, and they're not prepared for it, and then it kind of just sinks them?
I think a lot of people do. But yeah, probably the biggest thing that hurt most of the real estate investors, here again, I will call them speculators. The real estate speculators, because they didn't do their due diligence. I would say a huge majority of them got burnt in 2008 At least the ones I've talked to, they got burned in '08 because they didn't have reserves. The house prices. Let's just hypothetically let's talk about the West Valley house that we're about to part with. So its appraised value is somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000. This happened in '08 as well, or '05 and '06, leading up to '08. But then when the housing crash hit, the price of the properties dropped from, let's say, $300,000 down to $150,000. And at the time, people were speculating on property because the values were increasing so fast that they would literally buy it, and they didn't have to show any. They didn't have to even show that they could pay for the house. They didn't have to show that they had a job. Nothing. It was crazy how loose the lending was then. But essentially, they would buy the house and hold it for 3 or 6 months, and then flip it, and make a 10, 20 grand profit. So
It's just the greater fool theory.
It's exactly what it was, the greater fool theory, because they weren't educated on what they were doing. But just like, I saw it in 2000 with the tech bubble, 2008 with the real estate, or 2006, and then here we are again with the cryptos, and it's just like, when I'm not going to make, I didn't make this up, but I've heard it said, dumb money chases good money out. Another way to put that is, when dumb money moves into an investment or into a space, it's time to head the opposite direction. So in this case, well, just like the tech bubble in 2000, dumb money was coming in there. I mean, quite literally, the tech companies, they didn't have to have a product. All they had to do is announce themselves as a tech company, and money was flowing at them because you couldn't lose. It was just, the sky's the limit until it wasn't. And the greater fool theory works great until the merry-go-round stops, and then whoever's left holding the bag has got a shit bag. Yeah. Same thing in 2006. People just throwing money at real estate left and right. Everybody and their dog and their friend and, everybody was a real estate investor. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so you've done this for how long? Well, I just barely bought my first property. A month ago, I didn't know anything about it. Now I'm a real estate genius, and I'm going to make all this money and shit like that. It's like, really? Okay, so how much in reserves do you have? What's that? I don't need reserves. I've got so much equity in the property, I don't even need reserves. Greater fool theory hit, and it wiped a ton of people out. Here we are repeating the process with cryptos. It's incredible watching it. Mm-hmm. I literally was talking to somebody the other day. It was last week. They said a month ago I didn't know anything about cryptos. Now I could do it as a full-time job. Oh. A month. Like, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Cool. That's like saying you could play at the casino for a full-time job.
I know people who have claimed that they could do that too.
Bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts. Yeah, they were broke as a joke until they stopped doing that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's why I say difference between a speculator or a gambler and an investor is education. Mm-hmm. What makes your investment portfolio profitable? Is it sustainable? Is it consistent? Is it predictable? If it's not, you're gambling.
And that's why most of the businesses going out, like between this year and last year, because they have no, what the hell did you call it? Reserves, yeah. Like with the economy crash.
Yeah. When the government come in and shut everybody down. Yeah, they didn't have the staying power to stay in business. It wasn't so. Just like in 2008. Yeah, property values come and go, and just like that West Valley home, yeah, it's worth $300,000 today because that's what somebody will pay for it. it might, maybe next month it'll be worth $150,000 just because the value drops. If you've got the staying power to say, hey, you know what, we can still make the payment, or we have a renter making the payment, so it doesn't really matter what the price of the property is, it's going to come back just like it did. And if individuals would have had the staying power, if they would have had the reserves on hand, some people call it emergency fund or rainy day fund or chaos hedge. I like to call it reserves because words have power, and I don't like chaos and I don't like emergencies. Mm-hmm. So I just call ours reserves. But yeah, if they'd have their reserves in place, they wouldn't go out of business.
And I know we talked about this last time, but how much reserve do you recommend? Because I know you can do anywhere from like 6 to 24 months is recommended.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you personally recommend? Not financial advice, but
a lot of that will depend on how secure your job is.
Yeah.
As far as like personal reserves, some jobs you can't be fired from, aka the government jobs. You can't be fired from them, no matter how shitty a worker you are, or whatever, or whatever you do. You got to try really, really hard. You got to fuck up really, really bad consistently to get out of a government job. So for a government employee, they may only need 3 months reserves. For a self-employed individual, I would suggest 12 to 24 months. Here's what's interesting, though. A lot of people with a lot of employees think they're safe. I would venture to say a self-employed individual is far safer than an employee because
we saw that.
Because a self-employed individual they've already got their resourceful thinking cap on. They're already looking for, if you think about, how many people are providing you with a paycheck. As a self-employed individual, it's everybody you do work for. That's how many people are providing you with a paycheck. With an employee, your employer is your only source of income. So how secure is that? That can be taken away just, snap of you're gone. So
yeah, like I said, we all just saw that last year. It was wild.
Yeah.
Kind of shined a light on everything that way.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that,
government will take care of you though.
Yeah. Right. Government can only accumulate wealth one way, and it's by robbing it from somebody else.
Facts.
They can't even do that well.
They rob very efficiently.
It's the only thing they do well.
Look how bad we're doing, even after them robbing us.
No, they're robbing us and giving it to other countries.
Yeah,
yes, I understand that, but I'm talking about like inflation and all that shit. They're fucking themselves while fucking us.
Inflation is a hidden tax.
Robbing us even more. Yeah.
Inflation is...
Yeah, but it's bringing down America is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the intent with some of these folks. So I can't imagine otherwise, because if they're smart enough to get into office...
It's not hard. Look at AOC. Be active on Twitter.
Touche.
Well, there is something that I've seen is like, okay, if you don't know the motive, see the result and assume the motive from that. So what's the result? They're destroying the country via taxes and inflation, the hidden tax, and just keep printing money. So the motive
communism
is communism and destroying the country.
Yeah,
through the monetary system.
As much control as possible.
Okay. Absolutely. Obama's agenda was to bring America to its knees, and he did a damn good job at that. We were headed to to being displaced as the world power in fast.
Oh,
and then Trump got in. We got our dignity back as a country. We got our resourcefulness back, and he was starting to chip away at all the government dole-outs, which that's an absolute hemorrhage of cash to nowhere good. And then as soon as Biden got in, well, he reversed all the good stuff that Trump did, and their agenda is quite literally communism as fast as possible, and they're doing a damn good job out of it. I mean, that's why everybody's getting these dole outs and continual paychecks for everybody. It's like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah.
What is that about? You give somebody money, especially give them consistent, give them money consistently with no effort.
Mm-hmm.
Way to kill resourcefulness.
And kill jobs that are available. Everybody's hiring.
What was
and
it?
nobody's
like
taking them.
6 million or more jobs or something like that, and there
It's
was
like 8.
was it 8, and only 200,000 were being taken up.
And you don't even
Like
have
that
to
was
look
such
at
a bad job report.
People are making more money on the government's teat than they would be working.
Yeah, I know.
the people I've even talked to. Like, you don't even have to look at the numbers to like realize that. You just talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, I just got on unemployment. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they'll pay us, so we don't need to work.
I just have to apply to jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one thing I know the A+ was having an issue with, is people would apply and they wouldn't answer their phone. They wouldn't do anything because they just need to apply and show that they applied.
Yeah, that's an epidemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, our country's in a shit show if we don't do something, if the government don't do something different.
And that's why we diversify our portfolios.
That's right.
Yeah, bring it back home.
Bring back that rubber band.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because, yeah, from what I've seen, is as soon as one area, like you said, non-correlated assets, as soon as one area goes down, another one either stays the same or even rises.
Mhm.
As people, smart investors, flee one and flood the other.
Sure. Yeah. So like right now with all the volatility in cryptos and in the market, in the equities market, commodities might be a good place to look, because commodities are consumables that everybody has to have.
Yeah, I was reading just barely that we're just starting a 10-year bull cycle for commodities and precious metals.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And precious metals is actually considered a commodity.
Right. It's part of the commodities market, but
Mhm.
it's
Until they outlaw them again.
I don't think they will, but
Precious
it's
metals?
possible. No, the next thing they're
I'll
going to be
bet you they
outlawing
will.
is cryptos.
Cryptos.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think cryptos would be on the table long before precious metals, but it wouldn't, it wouldn't put it past them.
No,
Yeah.
it's all right. It's a good thing I lost everything I own in a boat crash.
Me too. Everything.
I
Terrible.
know.
Even
Yeah,
my
that was
vagrant.
a terrible boat crash. It took everything we had.
Yep.
Precious metals, guns, ammos,
Even our
everything.
oars.
My virginity.
Took everything from you.
I wasn't on that boat crash.
It's crazy. So I've seen TikToks, so it's coming from TikToks. I don't know how real it is, but people basically offer for the title of your house. They give you the amount of money, then they can turn around and sell it to other
Mhm.
people for a higher price.
Yep.
And they just make like a shitload every
Mhm.
month or whatever from doing that if they're able to get sales. Is that a real thing that
Oh,
any
yeah.
of us could do?
Yeah. Those are
So why do we
called
do it?
wholesalers.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with the real estate market,
They don't produce any value though.
Who cares if they're making 10 or
they
20
do.
A little
grand
bit,
per
because they
title.
connect buyers and
Actually,
sellers.
they do. They connect
Yeah.
buyers and sellers, and there's a whole lot of claim of, that it's super simple, but you're still going to work for it. But that's a way you can be a real estate investor without ever producing any capital. You're still going to produce something. You're going to produce time, because you got to go find the buyers and you got to go find the sellers and connect them, and you make the spread. So what you hold there is actually never actually real estate. What you hold there is a contract.
Okay.
You hold a contract from the seller that says, "I will get you this price for this home," and then you go to the buyer and say, "Hey, I've got this home for sale. It's a great deal. I'll offer it to you for $25,000, or it's a price, but maybe it's $25,000, maybe it's $10,000 over what you're going to give the seller." You connect the seller and the buyer, and all you own is a contract, and make money.
But you're not making any passive income ever, really.
That wouldn't be passive income, no. Neither is fixing and flipping. In fact, both of those are actually short-term gains, typically, because you're gonna buy and sell within a year.
So those would be taxed at regular income.
Yep, tax at regular income. Ooh. So there's a lot of aspects to it to consider, specifically to real estate. But it goes that way with crypto investing. A lot of people are going to have a nasty surprise come the end of the year when they have to claim all these gains as ordinary income and pay taxes on them all.
Lucky me, I've had enough losses to offset my gains so far.
So, that's something to consider. The same with the equities market, same with anything.
The IRS is going to be busy. There's so much stuff on Facebook. Oh, you don't have to pay taxes on cryptos. You just transfer it to this crypto and then do U.S. dollars, things like that. All these workarounds. Supposedly in Europe, they don't have to pay taxes on crypto, but it might just be because they don't have many laws around it yet. But
Europe's terrible
it's still,
anyways.
Still a capital gain.
Here's the thing. You keep your nose clean.
Mm-hmm.
You pay your taxes. You be upfront and honest, and then you don't have to ever watch your back, because the IRS, when they go hunting, when they go on the witch hunt, they'll go back many years and they'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is all these crypto companies, all the companies that you can buy and sell and hold they're all reporting to the government.
Mm-hmm.
They're reporting on you to the government. So if you're not claiming it, government knows about it.
A lot of them are getting lawsuits, SEC lawsuits too, because they're not reporting correctly and things like that.
Yeah. SEC don't mess around.
West. No.
They'll hurt you bad.
Back to the houses, would it be worth it to even look into that kind of like selling and buying?
Absolutely.
Where you just buy the contract and sell it or whatever?
Wholesaling?
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to put the time into it, it can be very lucrative.
Got a couple websites you might like. I just haven't had the time.
Yeah. I've just seen a bunch of TikToks. So I was like, if that's real, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it is, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I've got another question. This is kind of going way back to when we were talking about, when the market crashed in 2008 and all that stuff, and then you're saying it's when the next crash happens. So basically what I heard you saying is you're assuming it'll go back up. Do you think it'll always go back up, or do you think we're going to get to a point where we plateau? Or do you think it's just going to drop, keep going back up? And what happens if we do turn into like a communist place, which God forbid.
You don't have to worry about the markets. There will be no free market.
Is there going to be a way to get rich, though? Not if it gets to communism, because I don't think we're ever going to get fully communist.
There always seems to be opportunities for those who are looking. For the innovative, there's always going to be opportunities. I don't have any idea about a full communist state because I've not.
Suck on the military leader's toes.
There you go.
And then you'll get rich.
That would get you.
There you go.
Speaking of military complexes coming back hardcore with Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with. No.
Okay, but still.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is.
Shut up. It's like $765 million that they just gave to Israel.
Dude, that's chump change compared to what we've been giving away to everyone
Yeah,
else.
I understand that, but we're literally providing money for both sides.
Hey,
Isn't that interesting?
We're the Rock,
Yeah.
or not the Rock. Yeah, the
It was the
Rockefellers too,
Rockefellers,
but the
yeah.
Rothschilds too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. War is lucrative,
So
It brings in so
except
much
those
wealth,
who participate.
forgive me. Is it? Will you ask your first question again?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so it's basically, do you think the market, assuming that we stay in a mostly capitalist,
Uh-huh.
realm, do you think it'll always continue to fall and then rise again?
Yes, just based on history. Our economy is cyclical. Building patterns are cyclical. Just meaning it just goes up and down, and there's cycles to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can look back in history, and forever it's been that way. It starts getting a little skewed when they start messing with the money supply. So the central bank really screws things up, and that comes back to that hidden tax, income tax and all that shit. It's just a way to redistribute the wealth from the general public to the people in power. But and so that screws things up a bit. But yeah, our economy is still cyclical. It will always be up and it'll always be down. There will be things that come in and go out or go out and don't ever come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, like bell bottoms, you don't ever want those to come back.
It's too late.
Yeah, but yeah, for forever it's always been cyclical, and there's a lot of things that affect it. There's a good book out there. It's called what is it? Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, I believe.
Economics in One Lesson.
I believe it's called Economics in One Lesson, and that's a really good book about economics, and in there it talks about some of the patterns that that affect things, things that you wouldn't really think about, like what is it? Like, there's a mass exodus from California and New York right now. It's because they're such poorly run states that everybody's leaving them, or a lot of people are leaving them. They're just like, we're out of here. So things like that, and then also you've got the demographic that continually changes. So the baby boomers had a massive effect on everything that they touched, and I believe it's the, what is it? Is it the millennials that's even bigger than the, or is it Generation X that's even bigger than the?
You're skipping Gen Z. That might
No,
be it.
that's the last one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I thought Gen X.
We're
is,
Gen Z.
Yeah.
it's
Anyway,
one of the new generations is even bigger than the baby boomers, and so everything that they do is going to be, it's going to affect the economy. When they all start buying homes, home prices are going to go up. When they all start retiring, things like that. It's just it's affected right along the way. So
Basically, follow the patterns.
follow the patterns. Yeah, if you can figure out the patterns, do the technical analysis on the economics of what you're trying to invest in, and you can kind of plan it out pretty well.
Okay.
what is cyclical?
Cyclical means it goes up and it goes down. So there's a cycle, a predictable cycle,
Okay.
somewhat predictable cycle. It's not a matter of, it's hard to determine the when, but the fact that it goes up and down is, that's a fact. So that's a cycle, and it happens in cycles.
Bull runs don't run forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole stock market and like everything that's crashing or is going to crash, that's really a good thing for, I guess, people like us, theoretically. So then we could go buy up all the properties, right? Or I guess the real elite.
Well, here again, if we didn't have a central bank that was fucking with our money supply continually, and continually, doing the hidden tax and basically taking everybody's wealth, the cycles would be less painful, far less painful, because what happens is the feds get in there and they manipulate the money, and they manipulate the what it takes to get the money. So, like they ease regulation, and then all of a sudden money is cheap, so everybody can get money, and so it drives all the prices up. Well, at some point they turn the screws and they're like, they call it inflation. Well, yeah, our inflation is getting too hot, or we're having too much inflation. So now we're going to jack the interest rates, which curbs the money supply. Then there's a pullback on the money, and the greater fool theory kicks in, and people who aren't educated get left holding the bag. They go bankrupt, and it starts the cycle all over again. It's a shit show. Need to get the central banks need to abolish the central banks and get the fucking government out of regulation. It's bullshit.
Like
Seems
the
like-
Federal Reserve.
So,
Every conversation leads back to the government
Well-
screwing us over.
well, here's
They're our daddies.
here's something to think about. And this might just roll with me on this one. Inflation, the way we know it today, actually does not exist. It absolutely does not exist. I talk to my clients about this a lot because they're worried about the dollar collapsing. Here's the thing: is, if you take two of anything, I don't know. I'll just use a pen as an example. You take two identical pens. One was purchased in 1980 for a nickel, and one was purchased today for $5, but it's an identical pen. What's changed?
The price.
The amount of money that's in the system.
The amount of dollars it took to buy it.
Mhm.
If you had the pen that was purchased for a nickel, and I had the pen that was purchased for $5, but they're identical pens, would you have any problem swapping back and forth?
No.
Would you care which pen you walked away from the conversation with? Even though one cost a nickel and the other cost $5? So what's changed? Only the value of the currency that's being used to purchase the pen.
And how much faith people have in the dollar, right?
Well, that hasn't changed. People still believe in it, oddly enough. But because they sit there
Cryptos are
and
changing that.
What's
little.
that?
I say cryptos are changing that a little bit.
that's true. We're in
Disturbing
an
the system.
We're in an incredible environment. The next 10 years is going to be absolutely fascinating. But back to that conversation. So they all, you hear on the news and stuff like that, everybody's talking about inflation. Inflation does not exist. The only time that there would be an inflation, like true inflation, is if there was a supply and demand issue. And there isn't a supply and demand issue. Because if you have a greater demand than supply, the price increases. Once the demand is met, or once the supply is like in true capitalism, the price of a commodity or the price of something would go up if the demand is high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in true capitalism, other innovators and entrepreneurs would say, well, I want to make widgets because widgets are getting a really high price. And then pretty soon the supply comes up and matches the demand, and then all of a sudden the price comes down because and you have efficiency to continually whittle down the price without having to sacrifice quality. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the only inflation, is just minor bumps, minor adjustments, and then it would ebb and flow, and it would be a very, very consistent price forever if we were pegged to something like the gold standard. But the minute they take us off the gold standard and they sit there and turn the printing presses on, it benefits the central bank because they get to collect interest on blank checks, quite literally. They're creating money out of thin air, giving it to the government first. Well, not giving it. They're charging them interest on it that we get to pay as American citizens. But the government gets to spend it. And it's sweet from the central bank for the central bank because they get to collect interest off of nothing. It's sweet for the government because when the government gets that money and distributes it the first time, it has the same value as the pool of money before it was introduced. Once it's introduced into the system, it gets spent the first time. It all of a sudden dilutes the pool that much more. So it just keeps making the dollar worth less and less and less and less, therefore driving up prices. So it costs more to buy that item. The item did not change value.
So it's not inflation so much as dilution.
Yeah. Yeah. Inflation as we know it is a lie. It does not exist. It is pure and simply diluting the dollar.
So what are some things that hi, I'm a teenager. the listeners can do to prevent against inflation? Like, what are some things? I mean, obviously you can't prevent against a 10% inflation in a year like we've had. It's real hard. Or I guess you can, but how do you do that? How do you prevent against inflation?
The only thing you can do to hedge
Dilution, I mean. Sorry.
because our money supply is purely based on debt. This is going to sound crazy, but the only thing you can do to hedge inflation, the way it's currently, proposed, is by going into debt, tying up as much OPM as possible, and in real assets. Because the asset is going to continue to increase in value, and the money that you're paying back that debt with is easier and easier and easier to come by. So tie up as much OPM as long as you possibly can in real assets. I'm not talking cars. I'm not talking, nothing that's going to, that's a depreciating liability. Mm-hmm. I'm talking real assets, because the asset will maintain its value just like the pen did. So homes, gold and silver, those will maintain their value against the dollar.
I bought a lot of my silver with a credit card. But I paid it off too.
It's the problem there is you better watch what you do. I'm not saying you, but I'm saying
right.
For somebody to play that game,
It's
they better watch what they're doing, because that's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go too far into debt and you can't pay the obligations, or you don't have the reserves or whatever, mm-hmm. and then you can, it puts you at greater risk of losing it all.
Yeah.
So
Okay. There's a lot to unpack.
That is a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And then always make sure you're protecting your assets, aka life insurance, LLCs, good liability insurance.
You want to explain like LLCs and liability insurance a little bit more?
Yeah, and we'll kind of start with the basics. So, basics of asset protection is, first and foremost, your life. Oh, look,
You're a teenager
I'm
too.
a teenager
We're all
too.
teenagers. Yeah. We got the fountain of youth in this room.
First and foremost, though, protect your life. That's your greatest asset. Beyond that, if you have assets, and especially if you have kids, then you want to set up trusts to ensure that your estate transfers. That way, so from a personal level, life insurance, trust. And then also make sure you carry good liability, health insurance, and all that good stuff, because all those things can just destroy you so quick financially. Above and beyond that, or moving one step out, and I'll use real estate as an example because we've kind of been talking about that. If you put a piece of real estate in an LLC, let me back up. If you own a piece of like a rental property personally, and let's say you got $250,000 sitting in the bank, okay, and you own a home personally that you're renting out, and you have a slip and fall on that property, then what they can do is they can sue you personally, and they can go after that $250,000 or that $250,000 that you got sitting in the bank.
Which, by the way, is the maximum FDIC insured amount of money in a bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you have that property in an LLC, they can only get to the assets within that LLC. So an LLC is a limited liability company. That's what the LLC stands for, limited liability company. And it quite literally protects you from them getting through that barrier. So it limits the liability to only that company, and that company happens to only hold that property. So if they sue, they can only get the assets in that property.
But how is that your fault? Then they could come sue you.
It's not. That's why you have liability insurance, right?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
but how is that even legal?
How is it legal?
Oh, they can sue
We don't
you.
have.
It
We
doesn't
don't
mean
have a
they'll
justice
win.
system. We don't have a justice system.
Yeah, good point. But still,
You know the
Supreme Court did some cool shit today.
That's what I heard. The people, the jurors are selected by the attorneys, and you're not ever judged by a court of your peers. You're judged by the people who are too stupid to get out of jury duty.
Correct, everybody.
Dang. Yep.
No, but for reals, when you go into a court of law, so I'm an insurance agent, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna be put up there with a bunch of jurors who are also insurance agents who would realistically look at the situation and say, hey, as an insurance agent, did you do what's in the best interest of that client? Based on the information that you had. Did you do the due diligence that you should have done for that client? Did you intentionally wrong that individual as an insurance agent from an insurance agent's perspective? Which is how you should be judged. You're not judged that way. You're judged by the school teacher and the janitor and the and the whoever it is. You're judged by those people who have no idea, and it's just
You're a greedy capitalist.
yeah, you're a greedy capitalist. You're just going after this person and, for all their money. It's like, well, wait a minute. We don't have a justice system. That was abolished a long time ago.
Oh,
Fair
we
enough.
still have to talk about the book,
Book?
Yes, sir.
the 10x rule. That was a terrible segue, but we also have to talk about the book.
All right, the 10x rule.
Unless
All right,
you have something
I'll
else
sum
to
it up
ask.
real quick. So basically, everything you do in your life, just go extra hard on it.
Have you read that, by the way, the 10x rule?
10x?
Grant Cardone.
If I did, it was a long time ago. I don't remember it. I have it. I don't remember if I've read it yet or not.
It's a pretty good book for motivation. Like everything that you already know, like that they would say,
there.
like it's what you're expecting him to say to succeed. Just go harder than everybody else. Dominate the market, or dominate whatever you're doing. Don't compete with people.
Dominate your
Dominate
sector.
It. Dominate the sector, and
Try 10 times harder.
yeah, try
at
10 times
everything.
harder.
I find that interesting, and a lot of the motivational books are basically regurgitating the same things. It's like, they tell a couple of stories of people who are just like uber successful, and then they say, yeah, you just have to do it more than everybody else. Well, that comes back to, you can do anything harder than anybody else, and you'll be successful, but the people who are truly successful are those who are passionate about what they're doing.
Also, who you know, not what you know. Kind of. But he barely skimmed over that in the book.
You just said surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Yeah.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all
Just who
say.
you know. Yeah.
Just it's a little intense of a view. It's like I don't want to go that hard all the time. I like to enjoy life. So
Sounds like a good recipe for burnout to me.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Make sure you take time and enjoy life. Here's the thing. And you guys have probably heard this analogy. Think of yourself on your deathbed. Think of yourself old and gray and on your deathbed. You're looking around at whatever you're looking around at. What regrets are you going to have, if any?
I had more life insurance.
What are you going to wish you did more of?
Travel.
Is it you going to wish you went hard on the paint working? You're going to wish you spent more time with your family? You're going to wish you made more memories? Just put things in perspective for a little bit, and then it's like, oh, okay. A lot less things actually matter than what I originally thought mattered, and or different things matter. So
The hard thing is, it's like I know what I want, and it's not to go work the rest of my life, but it's like, okay, definitely want a lot of money so I can go do the things that I want to do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm going hard on the paint at least till financial freedom.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's the starting point
Yeah.
where I can
And that's
do
not
whatever.
that's not a bad idea. The thing is, there's a price to pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what price are you not what price, and what price are you willing to pay to get what you want?
10 years.
There you go.
Yeah, that was okay.
Put it right out there. Yeah. So but boys, enjoy the journey, because
It ends.
yeah, destination fucked comes faster than you think.
Aussie man reviews.
You got it. But yeah, so enjoy the journey. Make money and financial freedom. Wonderful intent, but make sure you enjoy the journey. Make sure you're doing something you enjoy, because you can go 10x all day long at something you hate, and you still fucking hate it.
Yep.
You're still miserable.
Mm-hmm. Pursue your dreams.
And
Just do it.
if what you do for money is something that you enjoy, you don't ever work. It's only always play.
Yeah. How long did it take you to reach financial freedom?
And have you?
Of course he has. Look at him.
Yes.
He's bald.
It's Joe Rogan status over here.
Yeah.
I
How
worked
long
so
did-
hard I went bald.
How long did it take? From the time I woke up from my employee life slumber, let's see, about, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years.
And that was with dealing with cancer and all this other bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And switching jobs.
That's pretty
careers.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, after dealing with certain things in life, you realize that you realize what you're capable of, and you realize, okay, the effort I'm giving, or the effort that I have given in the past compared to what I'm capable of, is absolutely nothing. So what I mean is after you've had some life experiences that takes you to the brink of your capacity to perform, or to whatever it is, after you've experienced that and lived that, then you look back at like a normal 9 to 5 and you're like, oh shit, that's all? Just 9 to 5? That's a piece of cake. And it changes your whole perspective.
Okay.
So when I changed occupations after 20 years of one occupation, I decided to change occupations, change fields, going from more of a construction setting or manufacturing into the financial realm. I knew when I left that place. In fact, I had people ask me, they're like, "Well, wait a minute, you're leaving a great paying, very reliable job, and you're going self-employed." And I said, "Yeah, I don't care if I work at McDonald's or Walmart or anywhere. I know I'll rise to the top in a short amount of time, because I know what I'm capable of."
So it's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset, yeah.
You can definitely tell people who have not had, we'll say, as much experience as yourself when you're talking to them, and their biggest stressor in life is they've got to, I don't know, take the kids to school and do work or something,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever it is, that's just, people get stressed over the smallest things at times.
Mm-hmm.
Especially our generation is getting stressed over tiny little things and having these panic attacks over nothing. And it's just like, oh, honey, Just wait till the real world hits you.
For reals.
It's gonna be bad.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say on that though. I'm still waiting for the real world to hit me.
But yeah, as far as that 10x goes, I would suggest, find something you're passionate about, and then by all means go 10x, because you won't work. You'll just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go 10x at doing something you hate, you still fucking hate it.
Yeah. Yep.
Stocks and cryptos have been fun for me, and I went hard. Have been going hard. It's fun.
And also make sure you balance. Make sure you always have balance in your life. You got family, you got spirit, you got health. What you put in your body, exercise, all that stuff. Your relationship with God or universe or whatever you want to call it.
AWA.
But make sure you balance all those things.
What the fuck did I just miss?
AWA, isn't that
The blue
Avatar.
avatar.
Blue
people
Avatar.
Connect their hair to the tree.
Oh.
It's AWA.
What the hell?
All right.
That was tough.
It's okay, brother.
No, but that's why. I mean, you guys see me like putting together a puzzle. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a break. I'm just relaxing,
Mhm.
but I like to keep my mind busy. So
Yeah.
I think that's like when you officially become a dad, when you do puzzles or word searches.
It comes along with the dad bod,
Yeah.
well,
you know what that means.
it's a balance of work and play. Right now, I can't ski and I can't snowboard, and
Yeah. That's sad.
Bolton's out of the question on weekdays. On most weekdays, so I'll put a puzzle together.
I still dislike puzzles, so I'm not a dad yet.
I hope not.
Dude, if I became a dad, that'd be pretty freaking cool. I'd be fine
That'd be
one
cool.
way or another, honestly.
love it.
I've prepped enough where we'd be okay. But
You get a lot less sleep than you already do.
that's true. But I'd also have to give up some things. Maybe like working out in the mornings and then do it in the evenings instead or something. I would
Like I
figure it
said,
out. Actually, no, I would just 10x everything.
There's
You'd
always a
just be
trade-off.
savage.
I'd just 10x everything. Just work harder. I'd rock that baby so hard, fall asleep just like that. I'd milk it with my own breasts.
Okay.
Feed it. I mean, I'm not going to milk the baby. All right. Yeah, we can stop now.
And that relates to finances, how?
Yeah, so because babies are expensive and
Yes.
babies are an
Of course.
asset because,
Enjoyment.
well, in the strict sense of the word, they are a liability because they take money out of your pocket. However, they're an asset because they bring you peace and joy
Mm-hmm.
in the end.
Calm
So I
your
hear.
spirit when you're ripping your hair out.
Yes, maybe.
So,
What?
you got a point. That's why I have a boat and a camping trailer.
To
I
get
mean,
away from
Because
the
they're like
kids.
babies.
So
Well-
like babies.
No, but to spend time with the family. That's an investment in the family, and spending time
Right.
with the family is extremely valuable. It's
Right.
not an asset or a liability, but it's extremely valuable to me.
It's like when I'm listening to 13 Principles of Prosperity, Rick Kerber's like, said, what is the value of this thing? We're missing something when we ask that. What is the value to whom?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause you can, like you say, sell a pen for a nickel or sell it for $5.
Well, yeah, great.
Kind of analogy.
Absolutely. Well, if you take a piece of real estate, you take a beautiful mansion, it might be worth $10 million, here in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
where there's a demand for it, where people put a value to it. You go put that in the middle of the Sahara Desert, you can't give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would want it. Doesn't matter how nice it is,
That's true.
because people put value on things. Things aren't valuable in and of themselves.
Yeah.
Which that all ties back into the only thing of true value is a human being. Everything else is just a perception.
That's why we have
or,
individual liberties.
or what
did.
what a human being places value on. That's
Mhm.
it. So the only thing with true value is a human life.
Okay.
Amen.
Yes. And a woman, of course.
And a woman.
And
Yes.
a
Never
woman.
forget.
And AWOL.
And they will.
Yes. Hey, well.
Or AWOL. whatever.
Yeah. Well, do you guys feel pretty good about it? You have anything else to
Cool.
say?
Pretty satisfied.
Keep rocking it. You guys are doing awesome. I love it.
Awesome.
Rocking in the free world. For now.
Well,
Yeah, this man's consistent. He listens to our podcasts.
yes.
I do. They're awesome.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming on again. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our Patreon, do all that cool stuff.
We're trying to get more podcasts in more places.
Yes.
We're working on it. So
Yep.
it's not just on YouTube.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
Appreciate
That's
you
it.
having me on.
And
Yeah,
then
of
the
course.
next book we're reading is
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm
And we're going to try to have Nathan
by
on.
George Orwell. Yeah, we'll see.
Yes.
We've got a couple others we could have on, if not.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank
Cool.
you guys.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Peace out.